The contractor's face went white when I handed him the blueprints I'd found hidden in my husband's home office. "Ma'am, this isn't just a wine cellar. This is a full living space. Kitchen, bedrooms, the works. Underground." I stared at the papers in my trembling hands. David had told me he was building us a simple wine cellar beneath our garage. Something romantic, he'd said. A place where we could store vintage bottles for our future anniversaries. But these blueprints showed something entirely different. A complete underground house. With 3 bedrooms. We only had 2 kids. David and I had been married for 12 years. High school sweethearts who'd built what I thought was the perfect life together. He was a successful architect, I ran a boutique marketing firm from home, and our kids Emma and Jake were thriving. We lived in this gorgeous colonial in Westchester County, the kind of house I'd dreamed about since I was little. White picket fence and all. The construction had been going on for 6 months. David handled everything. The permits, the contractors, the planning. "Don't worry about it, babe," he'd say whenever I asked questions. "This is my gift to us. Let me surprise you." I trusted him completely. Why wouldn't I? He was my husband, my partner, the father of my children. But finding those blueprints changed everything. I'd only gone into his office to grab some tax documents. David was away on a business trip to Chicago, and our accountant needed paperwork by morning. That's when I saw the rolled-up papers sticking out from behind his filing cabinet. They must have fallen back there by accident. My hands shook as I spread them across his desk. The drawings were detailed and professional. Not just rooms, but a complete living space with plumbing, electrical, ventilation systems. A full kitchen with all the appliances. 3 bedrooms with built-in closets. Even a small living room with entertainment center specifications. This wasn't a wine cellar. This was a house. An underground house. For a family. But whose family? The contractor, Mike, was still staring at me with that uncomfortable expression. "Mrs. Henderson, I probably shouldn't be discussing this with you. Your husband gave me strict instructions." "What instructions?" My voice came out sharper than I intended. Mike shifted his weight, looking everywhere except at my face. "He said the project was confidential. That you knew about it but didn't want to be involved in the details. He said it was supposed to be a surprise." "What kind of surprise requires 3 bedrooms?" "Look, ma'am, I just build what the blueprints tell me to build. Your husband's been very clear about what he wants." "Show me." Mike hesitated. "I don't think that's a good idea. Show me now, or I'm calling David and telling him you refused to let me see my own property." That did it. Mike sighed and gestured toward the backyard. "It's accessed through the garage. But ma'am, please don't touch anything. We're still working on the electrical." The entrance was hidden behind a false wall in our 3-car garage. Mike moved aside a piece of drywall to reveal a staircase leading down into darkness. He flicked on a work light, and we descended into what felt like Alice's rabbit hole. What I saw took my breath away. It was beautiful. Professional. Expensive. The walls were finished with warm wood paneling. The floors were polished concrete with radiant heating. The kitchen had granite countertops and stainless steel appliances. Everything was high-end, carefully designed, obviously crafted with love and attention to detail. This wasn't some bunker or storage space. This was a home. A secret home. Beneath my home. "How long has this been under construction?" I asked, running my hand along the smooth countertop. "About 6 months, like you said. Your husband's been very involved. Down here almost every day when he's in town, checking on progress, making adjustments. Every day. While I was upstairs taking care of our kids, managing our household, living our normal life, David was down here building a secret world." "The bedrooms," I said. "Show me the bedrooms." The master bedroom was at the end of the hall. King-size bed space, walk-in closet, ensuite bathroom with a gorgeous tiled shower. It was larger than our bedroom upstairs. More luxurious. The second bedroom was clearly designed for a woman. Pale pink walls, built-in vanity, delicate light fixtures. Adult-sized, but feminine. Romantic. The third bedroom made my knees weak. It was designed for a baby. Soft yellow walls. Space for a crib. Built-in changing station. Shelving for toys and books. A rocking chair nook by a fake window that showed a digital display of a garden view. I had to lean against the doorframe to keep from falling. David and I had been trying for a third child for 2 years. We'd been seeing fertility specialists. Taking hormones. Tracking ovulation. Scheduling sex like a business meeting. Month after month of negative pregnancy tests and disappointment. But someone else was having David's baby. Someone else was getting the underground dream house. Someone else was living the life I thought was mine. Mrs. Henderson? Are you okay? Mike's voice sounded far away. I wasn't okay. Nothing was okay. My entire world was crumbling around me, and I was standing in the ruins. I need to go, I managed to whisper. I stumbled back upstairs, through the garage, into my house that suddenly felt like a stranger's place. Everything looked different. The family photos on the mantel. David's coffee mug still in the sink. The kids' backpacks by the front door. How long had he been living this double life? I called in sick to work and spent the day in a haze. The kids came home from school full of stories about their day, but I could barely focus. Emma showed me a drawing she'd made in art class. Jake needed help with math homework. Normal mom things. But nothing felt normal anymore. That evening, I put the kids to bed early and sat in our kitchen with a glass of wine, staring at those blueprints. I'd spread them across our dining table like evidence at a crime scene. My phone buzzed. Text from David, missing you babe. Chicago is boring without you. Can't wait to be home tomorrow. Love you. I stared at that message until the words blurred together. Love you. What a lie. What a complete and utter lie. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in our bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing through memories. All those business trips. Working late nights. Weekend conferences that I never quite understood. Phone calls he'd taken in another room. The way he'd started password protecting his laptop. How could I have been so blind? By morning, I'd made a decision. I wasn't going to confront David directly. I wasn't going to scream or cry or beg for explanations. I was going to find out exactly what I was dealing with. First, I hired a private investigator. I know that sounds dramatic, but I needed facts. Real evidence. Not just blueprints and suspicions. Her name was Patricia Wells, and she came highly recommended by a lawyer friend. Patricia was in her 50s, professional, no nonsense. She listened to my story without judgment and asked pointed questions. How long do you want me to follow him? As long as it takes. Are you prepared for what I might find? I don't think I have a choice. Patricia started surveillance that week. David returned from Chicago acting completely normal. Kissing me goodbye in the mornings. Helping Jake with his science project. Taking Emma to her soccer games. Playing the perfect husband and father. But I watched him differently now. I noticed things. The way he'd check his phone constantly. How he'd volunteer for grocery runs that took twice as long as they should. The new cologne he'd started wearing. 3 days later, Patricia called. I found her. We met at a coffee shop downtown. Patricia slid a manila envelope across the table. Inside were photographs. David with a woman I'd never seen before. Tall, blonde, probably 10 years younger than me. They were holding hands outside a restaurant. Kissing in a parking lot. Looking at baby furniture in a store. My heart stopped. The woman was visibly pregnant. Her name is Ashley Morrison, Patricia said quietly. She's 28, works as a dental hygienist. They've been seeing each other for about 18 months. 18 months. Emma had been 10 years old when this started. Jake was 7. David had been cheating on me since our children were babies by his standards. There's more, Patricia continued. She's 5 months pregnant. And get this, she thinks she's his only family. David told her he was divorced. That his ex-wife moved across the country with their kids and he never sees them. I stared at the photos until they started to make sense. This woman thought she was getting the man of her dreams. A successful architect who was building them a beautiful home. She had no idea about me, about Emma and Jake, about the life David was already living 12 miles away. He's been setting up the underground house for them, Patricia explained. Ashley thinks it's romantic. A secret love nest where they can start their new life together. She has no idea it's literally underneath his wife's house. The audacity was breathtaking. The sheer psychotic audacity of it all. David wasn't just cheating on me. He was creating an entire parallel universe. 2 families. 2 lives. 2 realities existing in the same space. And Ashley was as much a victim as I was. That realization changed everything. I could have destroyed them both. Could have called Ashley and shattered her world with the truth. Could have confronted David and demanded explanations that would never make sense anyway. Instead, I decided to get creative. David wanted to live a double life? Fine. But he was going to do it on my terms. I started by making copies of everything. The blueprints. Patricia's surveillance photos. Bank records I'd found showing payments to contractors and baby furniture stores. David's phone records that Patricia had somehow obtained. Text messages. Credit card statements. I documented everything. Then I did something David never expected. I called Ashley. Hello? Is this Ashley Morrison? Yes, who's calling? My name is Jennifer Henderson. I think we need to talk about David. The silence on the other end of the phone lasted forever. I don't understand, Ashley finally said. Her voice was shaky. David is my husband. We've been married for 12 years. We have 2 children together, and we live in Westchester County. I believe you know him as someone else entirely. I heard her breath catch. That's impossible. David doesn't have a family. He told me. I know what he told you. And I know what he told me. That's why we need to meet. We agreed to meet the next day at a neutral location while David was at work. I chose a small cafe in a town between us, somewhere private where we could talk without interruption. Ashley was even prettier in person than in the surveillance photos. She looked exhausted and confused, her hand protectively over her rounded belly. I felt a stab of sympathy for her. 6 months ago, I would have hated this woman. But now I understood that she was another one of David's victims. You're really his wife? She asked as soon as she sat down. I showed her my wedding ring, pulled out my phone to display family photos. David and me at Emma's school play. David teaching Jake to ride a bike. Our family vacation to Disney World last summer. Ashley's face crumpled. Oh God. Oh my God, this can't be happening. How long have you known him? About 1.5 years. We met at a coffee shop near my work. He said he was recently divorced, that it was messy, that his ex-wife was vindictive and trying to keep him from seeing his kids. The lies were so elaborate. So detailed. David had crafted an entire fictional backstory to explain away his real life. He's building us a house, Ashley continued, tears streaming down her face. Underground. He said it was romantic, that we'd have our own secret world where we could be happy together. Just us and the baby. I know about the house. It's under my garage. Ashley stared at me. What? David is building your future home underneath the house where I live with our children. I watched the color drain from Ashley's face as the full scope of David's deception hit her. She wasn't just the other woman. She was the other family, being literally buried beneath the first family. "This is insane," she whispered. "This is completely insane." "Yes, it is." We sat in silence for a few minutes, both processing the enormity of the situation. "What happens now?" Ashley asked. That's when I told her my plan. "We're going to give David exactly what he wants," I said. "2 families. 2 lives. But we're going to do it together." I explained my idea. Instead of destroying each other, Ashley and I were going to destroy David. We were going to let him continue his charade, but we'd be controlling it from behind the scenes. "I don't understand," Ashley said. "David thinks he's playing us both. But what if we start playing him?" My plan was beautiful in its simplicity. Ashley would continue her relationship with David, but now she'd be feeding me information. Every conversation, every plan, every lie he told her about me or the kids. Meanwhile, I'd continue being the perfect wife at home, gathering evidence of his double life. We'd let David finish building the underground house. Let him think his plan was working. But when the time was right, when we had everything we needed, we'd spring our trap. "What kind of trap?" Ashley asked. "The kind that ruins him completely." Ashley was hesitant at first. She loved David, or thought she did. The man she'd fallen in love with didn't exist, but those feelings were real. Plus, she was 5 months pregnant with his child. Walking away wasn't simple. But as we talked more, as I showed her more evidence of David's elaborate deceptions, she started to understand that we were both being manipulated by someone who saw us as objects to be managed, not people to be loved. "He's been lying to me about everything," Ashley said finally. "If he could lie about having a wife and children, what else has he lied about?" "That's what we're going to find out." We exchanged phone numbers and agreed to stay in constant contact. Ashley would text me David's schedule, his moods, what he told her about his business trips that were actually time spent with me and the kids. I'd share information about his behavior at home, his finances, his patterns. We became partners in uncovering the truth about the man who'd betrayed us both. The next few weeks were surreal. David would kiss me goodbye in the morning, spend the day at work, then go to Ashley in the evening. He'd tell me he was working late on a big project. He'd tell her he had to deal with his difficult ex-wife about child support payments. Ashley and I compared notes daily. David was living 2 completely different lives with remarkable consistency. To me, he was the devoted husband planning a romantic wine cellar surprise. To Ashley, he was the newly single man building their dream home. The underground house was nearly finished. Mike the contractor had been asking questions about move-in dates and final inspections. David kept telling him to wait for his signal. That's when I realized what David's endgame was. He wasn't planning to choose between his 2 families. He was planning to keep both. Ashley would live underground with their baby, hidden beneath our house. I'd live upstairs with Emma and Jake, completely unaware of the family literally beneath my feet. David would split his time between both levels, both lives, playing the perfect husband and father to everyone. It was sick. It was twisted. And it was exactly the kind of elaborate scheme David's architect brain would devise. But now Ashley and I knew the truth. And we had a different plan. The underground house was scheduled for final completion on a Friday. David had told me he'd finally be ready to show me the wine cellar the following weekend. He'd told Ashley they'd be moving in on Saturday. We decided that Friday night would be perfect for our revelation. David came home from work that evening in an unusually good mood. He kissed me hello, helped Emma with her homework, played video games with Jake. He was practically glowing with anticipation. "I have a surprise for you tonight," he told me after the kids were in bed. "Something I've been working on for months." "Really? What kind of surprise?" "The wine cellar is finally finished. I want to show it to you." I pretended to be excited. "That's wonderful. I've been so curious about what you've been building down there." David's eyes lit up. He had no idea that I knew exactly what he'd been building. Or for whom? Come on, he said, taking my hand. Let me show you our new space. We walked to the garage, and David moved aside the false wall with a flourish. Close your eyes, he said. I want this to be perfect. I played along, letting him guide me down the stairs. The underground house was complete now. Furniture arranged, lights installed, everything ready for occupancy. Okay, David said. Open your eyes. I opened my eyes and gasped with fake amazement. David, this is incredible. This isn't a wine cellar at all. I know, he said, grinning proudly. I wanted to surprise you. It's our secret space. A place where we can get away from everything, just the two of us. The lies rolled off his tongue so smoothly. Even now, even in this moment, he was deceiving me about the true purpose of this space. It's beautiful, I said. But why 3 bedrooms? David's smile faltered slightly. Well, I thought maybe we could use them for guests, or storage, or, you know, if we ever had another baby. About that, I said. I have something to tell you. David's face brightened. You're pregnant? No. But someone is. That's when Ashley emerged from the master bedroom. David's face went white. Then red. Then white again. Hi David, Ashley said calmly. Jennifer and I have been having the most interesting conversations. David looked between us like a trapped animal. What is she doing here? She's here because this is her house too, I said. Well, it was supposed to be. Before I found out about your other family. Other family? David was still trying to play dumb, but his voice cracked. Ashley walked over and stood next to me. We faced David together, 2 women united against the man who tried to destroy both of our lives. We know everything, David, Ashley said. About the lies you told me. About the lies you told Jennifer. About your plan to keep both families without either of us knowing about the other. David's mouth opened and closed like a fish. No words came out. Did you really think you could pull this off? I asked. Did you honestly believe you could maintain 2 separate lives indefinitely? That Ashley would be happy living underground like some kind of secret prisoner while I lived upstairs with our children? It's not like that, David finally managed. You don't understand. Oh, we understand perfectly, Ashley interrupted. You're a liar and a manipulator who thought he was smarter than everyone else. Ashley, baby, please. Don't call me baby. Don't call me anything. You told me you loved me. You told me you wanted to build a life together. But you already had a life. You had a wife and children and you lied to me about all of it. David turned to me desperately. Jennifer, I can explain. There's nothing to explain. I found the blueprints months ago. I've been watching you, David. I hired a private investigator. I have photos of you and Ashley together. I have records of every lie you've told both of us. The fight went out of David all at once. He slumped against the wall, looking older than I'd ever seen him. What do you want? He asked quietly. What do we want? Ashley laughed bitterly. We want you to face the consequences of your actions. I pulled out my phone and showed David a video I'd recorded earlier that day. It showed me walking through our upstairs house, narrating a tour. This is where David Henderson lives with his wife Jennifer and their 2 children, Emma and Jake. David told his pregnant girlfriend Ashley that he was divorced and barely saw his kids. But as you can see, that was a lie. Then the video cut to Ashley in the underground house. And this is where David was planning to install his second family. His pregnant girlfriend Ashley and their unborn child, living literally beneath his wife's feet. I've already sent copies of this video to your boss, your clients, and both our families, I continued. Along with all the evidence of your double life. The photos, the financial records, the text messages. David's face went ashen. You can't do this. My career. Your career is over, I said. Your reputation is destroyed. And your marriage is over too. Jennifer, please. I love you. I love our family. This was all a mistake. A mistake? Ashley snapped. I'm 5 months pregnant with your child. This baby wasn't a mistake, it was 18 months of deliberate lies and manipulation. We're getting divorced, I told David. Ashley is suing you for fraud and emotional distress. And since you used marital assets to build this underground love nest, my lawyer thinks I'm entitled to significant compensation. David stared at us both. You planned this. You two worked together to destroy me. We worked together to expose the truth, I corrected. You destroyed yourself. What happened next was the most satisfying part of the whole ordeal. David tried to salvage his reputation, but it was impossible. The story was too bizarre, too shocking for people to ignore. A prominent architect building a secret underground house for his mistress beneath his family home? It went viral on social media within days. His architectural firm fired him immediately. Several of his major clients canceled their contracts. The story made local news, then national news. David Henderson became a cautionary tale about narcissism and deception. Ashley and I became unlikely friends through the divorce proceedings. She moved back in with her parents and decided to keep the baby. I helped her find a good lawyer and made sure she got child support payments. As for me, I got the house. Both houses, actually. The underground space was too expensive and elaborate to just seal off, so I converted it into a rental apartment. The irony wasn't lost on me. David's secret love nest became my source of additional income. Emma and Jake handled the divorce better than I expected. Kids are resilient, and honestly, David had been so distracted by his double life that he hadn't been fully present as a father anyway. They barely noticed his absence. The most shocking revelation came during the divorce proceedings. While going through David's financial records, my lawyer discovered this wasn't his first affair. There had been at least 2 other women over the years, though apparently none as serious as Ashley. My husband hadn't just been living a double life. He'd been living multiple lives for most of our marriage. I thought about all those years I'd blamed myself for problems in our relationship. All the times I'd wondered if I was pretty enough, interesting enough, good enough for David. All the fertility treatments and hormone shots and scheduled romance, desperately trying to give him the 3rd child I thought he wanted. He'd been getting everything he wanted from other women while pretending to be the devoted husband at home. The betrayal was complete, but so was my freedom. A year later, I ran into Ashley at the grocery store. Her daughter was beautiful, she had David's eyes but Ashley's sweet smile. We had coffee and laughed about how surreal our lives had become. Do you ever regret it? Ashley asked. Taking him down so completely? I thought about it seriously. David lost everything: his career, his reputation, his family, his financial security. He was working at a small firm now, designing strip malls instead of luxury homes. Living in a studio apartment instead of our beautiful colonial. No, I said finally. He made his choices. We just made sure he faced the consequences. Ashley nodded. I'm glad we did it together. I don't think I could have handled facing the truth alone. Me neither. We'd both rebuilt our lives from the ruins of David's deception. Ashley was thriving as a single mom, and I'd started my own marketing consultancy that was more successful than I'd ever imagined. Emma and Jake were happy and healthy, and honestly, our house felt more peaceful without David's constant lies and manipulation. The underground apartment was rented to a lovely graduate student who had no idea about its twisted history. Sometimes I'd hear her moving around down there and remember that night when Ashley and I confronted David together. It was the night 2 women refused to be victims of the same man's narcissism. It was the night we chose justice over revenge, truth over comfortable lies. It was the night we learned that sometimes the best way to deal with betrayal isn't to fight each other, it's to fight back together. David wanted 2 families he could control and manipulate in secret. Instead, he got 2 women who refused to be controlled by anyone. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd never found those blueprints. If David had succeeded in his insane plan, would I have spent years living above Ashley and her child, never knowing they existed? Would Ashley have lived underground like a prisoner, believing she was David's only love? The thought makes me sick. But we didn't live that nightmare because we chose to face the truth together instead of letting David's lies divide us. Now, when people ask me about the divorce, I tell them the truth. My husband tried to live multiple lives, and when his deceptions were exposed, those lives collapsed on top of each other. The underground house that was supposed to hide his secrets became the place where all his lies were finally brought to light. And Ashley and I, two women who could have been enemies, became allies in our own liberation. Have you experienced something like this? Tell me in the comments.